Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome. It is really good to be here with you, and I welcome those on Zoom as well. I'm Catherine Massey, Director of Music. This is a hard time, and I just want to say, I don't know what else to do but to move forward in love. So our opening hymn is Jack Welch's favorite hymn, number 1, May Nothing Evil Cross This Door. And I invite you to put your phone in worship mode and for out of safety to hum. And I'll ask Kathy and Charlie to sing with me this hymn. Please rise, embody our spirit.
Our opening words this morning are from Starhawk. She says, "We are all longing to go home to some place we have never been, a place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses of it from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throat. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter. Voices will celebrate with us whenever we come into the room. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing. A circle of friends. Some place where we can be free." Kathy, would you help me with the chalice lighting this morning? Our chalice lighting words today are again from Melanie Davis. It's entitled "A Spark of Hope." If there ever were a time for a candle in the darkness, this would be it. using a spark of hope, kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice. Will you join me in saying our church's covenant, affirmation of covenant, and humming the doxology in English and Spanish while Catherine leads us in singing, and Kathy and I will sing along. Love is the doctrine of this church, and trust of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. We also welcome those of you who are Zooming in today. My name is Charlie SCHOLZ. I'm your service leader. Doug Abbott is our service associate, and he's going to be joining us by Zoom for his reflection today. But we're fortunate to have our director of music, Catherine Massey, with us, and we're all delighted to be here with you. We like to say Unitarian and Universalism has no creed or dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with each other according to the Unitarian and Universalist principles and our congregation's covenant of right relations, which we talked about last week. We embrace diversity in all forms. Everyone is welcome here. You can learn more about our church and check the events calendar at our website, UUCLC.com. I want to take a moment, though, to make sure that you are welcome here. And this is what I'd like to do. I'd like you to take about a minute and a half and greet someone you don't know, okay? So stand up. It's going to be hard, and you don't have to touch, but I want you to say hello to someone you don't know. You may have to go down the aisle. Okay. Thank you very much. If you're visiting us today, we'd like to meet you. Please rise in body or spirit and introduce yourself by telling us your name, where you're from, and how you've heard about our church. Any visitors today in the congregation? There we go. Okay. Oh, well, welcome back. Yes.
You're very active in our church in Denver, and we just struggled to kind of make it happen.
Please do. Thank you. Nice of you to be here. Okay. Any other visitors? No? Do we have any visitors on Zoom?
Hi there. My name is Kelly, and I'm here with my partner, Richard. We're from Las Cruces, and we are interested in learning more about the church.
Oh, wonderful. All right. You've come to the right place, definitely. All righty. I have a couple of announcements. Let me see if I can find them this morning. Oh, I should mention that, let's see, directly following this service, there'll be a time to fellowship with one another during coffee hour. That's out the door and down the hallway. I think we'll be serving in the RE building and then celebrating outside. The hospitality committee has crafted what we call a new normal for this time to re-greet and meet one another with a focus on keeping us healthy. So they'll serve you either water or coffee and bite-sized treats, and we'll enjoy these refreshments and conversation outside in the fresh air down the walkway, as I mentioned. And even though it's very gray today, it's actually not very cold. I noticed that. In fact, I didn't even bring the plants in last night. So I have 3 announcements. The first is that Michaela Pinkham, want to wave Michaela? She is our Zoom operator and also runs the audio board. She's going to be doing some training after the service. So if you're interested in learning that process, meet her up there on the AV stand. Let's see. Katie Fitzgerald asked me to remind you that she'll be in the office from 9 to noon on Wednesdays. And so if you have some questions about finance or about the Sunday Service Committee, she is one of the co-chairs. You can talk to her then. And also on January 30th, Elwin, our video operator, will be offering truffles for sale, again, in the gallery. And I know those of you who are chocolate fans like I am will be alerted for that, and that'll be on the 30th. Okay, would you please join me in our opening hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life? Whoops, I'm sorry, it's a time for all ages. I skipped ahead here. Now it's a time for all ages.
Lamp in Every Corner by Janine Groschmeyer, adapted by Amanda Esco. Many years ago, in the land of Transylvania, in a mountain valley watered by quick rushing streams and shadowed by a great forest of beech trees, there was a small village full of wooden houses with dark shingled roofs. The people in the village were of the Unitarian religion, and they wanted a church of their own, a church set on the hillside, they decided, looking down upon the village. So all the people of the village labored long and hard to build themselves a church. The stonemasons hammered sharp chisels to cut great blocks of gray stone, then set the stones in stout and sturdy walls. The glaziers made tiny panes of glass and fitted them neatly into the windows with leaded lines. The foresters sawed tall beech trees into enormous beams and laid the trusses for the ceiling, then covered the roof with close-fitting wooden shingles that wouldn't leak a drop of rain. The carpenters carved wood for a pair of wide open doors, setting them on strong pews so that the doors hung straight and square. A bell was brought from a faraway city, then hoisted by ropes with a heave and a ho to the top of the tower. At the end of the day, when it was finished, and when their church was finally done, all the people in the village stood back to admire it, and then to sing a song of happiness and praise. Their village had a church now, a church set on the hillside, looking down upon the village. "We will eat now," announced an elder, because everyone is hungry after their long, long days of work. "And later tonight, we will come back to worship and pray." So the people of the village went down the hillside to their homes and their suppers, all except one little girl named Zora and her father who stayed behind. They had brought their own bread and cheese. They ate their food slowly, sitting on the grass on the hillside, admiring their new church with its strong stone walls, its tall tower, and its magnificent bell. After they had eaten, they went back inside, opening those carved wooden doors to go into the glorious painted sanctuary inside. "Oh, look, Father," Zora cried, running from picture to picture, with her footsteps echoing off the stone walls. "See how pretty the church is?" She stopped in the center of the church, twirled slowly around. "See how grand?" "Yes, it is," said her father with pride. "But, Father," she said suddenly, "we have not finished." "What do you mean?" "There are tall lamps on the windows, but there are no lamps. There's no candles. The church will be dark when people come back." "Oh, little one, the light of the church comes from its people. You shall see." He rang the bell to call the people to worship, then took his daughter by the hand and led her back outside. They waited on the grassy hillside next to the beautiful church of strong gray stone. The sun had set behind the mountain, and the night was coming up soon. Yet in the growing darkness, tiny points of light came from many different directions and moved steadily up the hill. "Each family is entrusted with their own light, little one," her father explained. "Each family has it to light its own way here." "Where is our family's light?" "Your mother is carrying it. She will be here soon." The many lights moved closer together, gathering into one moving stream of light, all headed the same way, growing larger and larger, brighter all the time. Zora's mother arrived, bearing their candle in her hands. The father lifted Zora so she could set their family's candle tall in the iron stand. All around the church, other families were doing the same. Soon the church was ablaze in every corner, for all the people of the village had gathered to pray and sing. All through the worship service, Zora watched the lights flicker and glow. She watched her family's light most of all. When the service was over, her father lifted her high. She took another family's candle from the lampstand. Its curved sides and felt warm and smooth in her hands. Her mother carried it all the way home, the flame lighting the way. The lamp lit their house when they returned. Zora washed her face and got ready for bed by the light of that flame. "Mother," said Zora. "Yes, little one," her mother said, tucking in the red wool blanket around Zora's shoulders. "Father said the light of the church come from its people." "Yes. Also, people take their light from church, and they take other people's lights. And we have that light every day." "Yes, indeed," said her mother. "When we come to church, we bring our light, ourselves, to our community. When we leave, we take the light from everyone home with us. And even when we're not in church, even when the light is not lit, we carry the light of truth and the flame of love to show us the way to be in the world." "But each family only has one light," said Zora. "So make another and let that light grow," said her mother. "And someday tell your children to make more lights too, and their children, and their children. And now, good night," said her mother, and she kissed Zora on the cheek and on the forehead. Zora closed her eyes and drifted into dreams, while her mother looked down at her sleeping child. The years passed. Zora grew. The light came into her care. She kept it polished and clean, and when the bell rang out across the valley to call the people to worship, she carried it back and forth on the hillside, the flame always lighting her way. And when the time came, she made more lamps and gave them to her children, who made more lamps and gave them to their children. And so it went on and on throughout the years, even today. And as always, the light of truth, the flame of love from that Unitarian church on the hillside continued to grow and show them and us the way.
I love that song. And someday we'll do without masks, so my glasses won't fog up. One of the ways we share support one another in community is through the sharing of joys and sorrows and milestones. In these challenging times, it's crucial that we make attempts to stay connected with one another. And so our church website has a link which allows you to confidentially submit a joy, sorrow, or milestone. You can specify if you would like your submission to be shared with the caring team and or with the congregation, or if you prefer for it to remain confidential. We have one joy sent in this week. It's from Jack Welch. And he writes, Gail Trantham and I have been in touch with former member Gordon Hill, who now resides in Missouri. He is doing well and busy working on his master's degree in English. For those of you who know Gordon, it's not surprising. Gordon's in his 80s. He and his late wife, Frances, were active members here before moving to Missouri a few years ago. And I have another joy to share. I had a birthday on Friday, and I do feel a year older, unfortunately, but not bad. Anyway, I had a wonderful time, and my Facebook friends, I think 87 of them sent me congratulations, which is kind of overwhelming because you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It was great. As human beings sharing space on this planet at this time in history, we all have hopes and dreams, wounds and worries in our heart. Remembering this, let us treat one another with patience and love. So let us be silent for a moment in meditation and prayer for the joys that were spoken, and also for the joys and sorrows and concerns that were unspoken. We'll light this candle. Amen. Doug, it's time for your reflection.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, great. When I took the Cub Master position at my son's Cub Scout pack, one of the local Scout executives told me that my most important job as Cub Master was to recruit and train my replacement. 3 years later, when Brian was graduating out of Cub Scouts, I hadn't taken that advice to heart, and we scrambled to find someone to take over the pack. We finally did, and the group continued to thrive, at least for the few additional years that I followed it. A common problem among volunteer organizations is when the same group of people is running the organization seemingly forever. This seems to be particularly common among groups that are organized around some sort of event. A small group of people gets an idea for an event, they organize it, and then year after year, the same group runs the event, rotating through all the leadership positions. Eventually, people get tired of this, they drop out, and the event goes away. And I think it's at least partly because the group doesn't realize that they have to continually recruit new people. I experienced something like this at the UU Fellowship in Silver City. This one lady and I rotated being treasurer for about 10 years. I was vice chair and then chair. If I had stayed around, it was probably my turn to be chair again. And of course, the group kept getting older. When Susan and I started there, the religious education program consisted of about 5 boys, including our son, all within about 2 years of each other in age. So when those boys graduated from high school, that was the end of the RE program. I sense that the Silver City group figured this out and is doing something about it. I've been back there a couple times to visit, and I've seen newer, younger people there. My sense is that this group here doesn't have as big a problem with that. I see a diversity of ages here, although, it still tends to skew a little older. So if there's a point to my message today, it is that the lifeblood of any organization, especially volunteer, is people. Okay, I'm probably preaching to the choir here. The point is that building a strong organization, whether it's a church, fraternal group, or an annual craft fair, requires constant recruitment. There was a time when I questioned this notion of constant recruitment. I thought to myself, well, once an organization reaches a certain optimal size, whatever that size is, it doesn't need to get any bigger. Why continue recruiting? No, it doesn't necessarily have to grow, but it does have to keep replacing the people who leave for whatever reason. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, Doug. And we have an anthem.
For a faith that invites us to be who we are and to bring what we have to the table. For a faith that delights in the work that we do and reminds us each day that we're able to choose life over death, trust over fear, and love over all that is faithful. For this faith we're eternally grateful. For a yes that is stronger than every last no, and that calls us without reservation. For a yes that is yearning for us to be whole, and that burns at the core of creation. In the peace and the hope we've come to know, the fullest abundance of treasure. For this yes we give thanks beyond measure. For a love that pursues us each day of our lives, and that gathers us up like a mother. For a love that renews us in darkness and light, and inspires the depth of our wonder. That is there in our pain, there in our loss, and there in our healing and mending. For this love we sing praise never ending.
Good morning again. It's good to be with you this morning. When I was writing this week, my wife, Nancy Anderson, who is our minister emerita of this congregation, reminded me that lay speakers, meaning me, often try to put everything they know into their sermons. And that's because most of them only do this once or twice a year, and so they figure they have to get everything out, right? Okay, it's the only opportunity they have. Ministers, on the other hand, knowing that they will be speaking nearly every week, learn to ration their thoughts and introduce new ideas one at a time. So I'm taking my wife's advice and keeping it simple. My topic is building a stronger church, and that boils down to one idea: people. There, I've said it. Now let's unpack this and see where it leads us. First of all, what do you think of when you think of church? Do you think of the building, or is it the location? When I was growing up in Chicago, the church we attended was just down the street from our house, half a block away. So my idea of church was that place we went to on Sunday mornings and sometimes during the week, and occasionally on Saturdays for weddings or something like that. But even if your idea of church is not tied to a specific building or place, it is necessary for us to meet somewhere, and it might as well be here, okay? So with that in mind, last year, the facilities committee, with the help of about a dozen members of our congregation, spent 6 months helping to rehab this building. For those of you who've only joined us since the start of the pandemic, I would point out that we are the beneficiaries of a new floor, new windows, a new sound system, the AV stand, the choir platform, The air system has been thoroughly cleaned and filtered. The lighting has been updated with LED lamps. You may notice it's brighter in here. And they use less energy, so we're saving money there. As an added bonus, the new double glazed windows that we have not only shut out the dust that plagues us here in the desert, they also shut out the noise of the traffic on Solano. So it's quieter, less distracting. And that new tile floor, which is ADA compliant, can you believe that? That means you don't slip on it, makes the room much more live, and that has allowed the choir to sound better without amplification. So if you ask me how to build a stronger church, I would say that you start with a good building, one that is light and bright and clean and beautiful. And yet we know that's not the only thing. Now, let me tell you a story. When my wife and I lived in New Brunswick, Canada, she was ministering to the Fredericton, New Brunswick church, Unitarian church. We initially met in an old house, which the congregation owned. The Sunday services were held in the living room and dining room, a rather small space. I think it held, maybe 35, 40 people. And there were about 50 members, I think, of the congregation at this time. We quickly outgrew that space. So the congregation voted to rent out the property to a daycare center and use temporary space, find it somewhere, and then look for a new building. It took us almost a year to do that. But we did find the right space, and by selling the old house and using the money to buy the new building, we moved into much larger and much more modern quarters. But during that year, we had no permanent meeting space. So we rented a community hall on Sunday. It was a large kind of like a hangar, a large empty space for Sunday worship, and a small office for the operation of the church and the meetings of the committees and the board. And guess what happened? The church continued to grow, even though we didn't have a real church building. Isn't that amazing? Well, no, it simply shows that the church is not just a building. In fact, it may not even be a building. The church is the people who attend it, the people who join it, the people who support it, the people who participate in its programs and operations. And through their contributions of time, talent, and treasure, they make the church strong. Let's take a moment to look at a few of those people, the joiners. And I'm talking about you new members. You probably know exactly why you're here. It could be for a variety of reasons, because this is a community of faith and hope, because you're among people you like and respect, because this is where your heart is, because this is where your soul is. Although I've been a Unitarian for half my life, it took a while for that to happen. I came to the UU Fellowship of Black Hawk County in Cedar Falls, Iowa, because Nancy and I wanted a place for our children to learn religious values without the dogma that came from our previous church affiliations. And as I like to tell people, while we came for our children, we stayed for ourselves. We discovered, as you may have discovered already, a spiritual community of people who, as our covenant says, believe that love is the doctrine of the church, the quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. And that we want to dwell together in peace and seek knowledge and freedom and serve others in community. And here comes the big finish, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. That's why I joined the UU Church. And it didn't take me long to find ways to support it. I worked on the building, just like I've done here. I served on the membership committee, and then I was on the board. When we moved to Delaware, we joined another congregation. And although my wife and I were in school full time, we still found ways to support our church. I could show you a list of all the committees I've chaired and the boards I've led and the work I've accomplished. But that's not the point. The point is, when you become a member of this Unitarian Universalist church, you'll be a shareholder and you'll want to get involved. And it will be our job to find out what you're interested in and what you're passionate about, and to show you how you can contribute those gifts to help build us a stronger church. Now, along with your contributions of time and talent, we also ask that you contribute your treasure. And in a few minutes, we'll pass the basket and ask you to give generously. You'll notice that we always give the sermon before asking for the offering. That's to keep the speakers on their toes. But before we do that, I want to remind you of where we began and give you another thing to think about. We know that the church is not the building, it's the people. When we refer to our congregation, we're not talking about 2000 South Solano. We're talking about you and me. We're talking about us. We are the church. But there is one more thing I want you to remember. We're not just here for our own benefit. Our work to help our church is to do those things for the world. As it says in our covenant, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. And that's our goal. And it's a big one, but we can achieve it if we work together to bring the good news of Unitarian Universalism to the people of Las Cruces. That's a start. A long time ago, somebody asked me what the difference was between Protestant Christianity and Unitarian Universalism. As you discover when you learn something about UU history, you'll see that our movements began in a similar place, but we diverged. I think it's best expressed by this quote from John Murray, a 19th century preacher, one of the founders of Universalism in the United States. He said, "Go out into the highways and byways, give the people something of your new vision. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach kindness and everlasting love of God." That's what we have to do. In these days when things appear to be falling apart and terribly chaotic, we must give people hope, not hell. May it be so. I like this quote from Eric Walker Wickstrom, who I met many years ago in Maine. He said, "The Lord loveth a cheerful giver, yet will accept money from a grouch as well." As the ushers prepare to take this morning's offering, may each of us look not into our wallets or our checkbooks to see how much we have with us. Let us also look into our hearts and see what is available there. How much love, how much generosity, how much faith, how much gratitude, how much hope. And let us take our offering from that account. I might note too that throughout the pandemic, the church has continued to support organizations identified by our Social Justice Committee as recipients of our Change for Change program. We can collect your actual change in the basket as they come down this morning, or you can make your donations by check or through the church's website. This quarter's donation will go to La Casa, whose mission is to support those affected by domestic violence while striving to prevent abuse and promoting healthy relationships among individuals and families. Ushers? If you're looking for a spiritual home and are sympathetic with Unitarian Universalist values and principles, the UU Church of Las Cruces may be the place for you. We believe that when you become a member, you are entering into a warm and deep relationship with the church and all of our members and friends. You are becoming a part of something much bigger than any of us. You're becoming part of a movement to change our community and our world. The way you join this church is to sign the membership book, or you can call the church, leave a message, and someone from the membership committee will contact you. I'll be happy to talk with you after the services if you're interested. Our closing words are from the Reverend Howard Thurman. I'm sorry, did I miss something? What did I miss? Oh, yes, and I'll put that in. Thank you, Reba. I'm sorry. Reba just mentioned to me a few moments ago that Shirley Davis is in the hospital with her husband. They're trying to figure out what's wrong with him, and so please hold her in your thoughts and prayers. Okay, and a song. Yes, and our song is I don't have that in my script. Good grief! I go lift it up. Thank you. All right, would you rise in body and spirit? Our closing words are from Reverend Howard Thurman. He wrote, "I will sing a new song. As difficult as it is, I must learn the new song that is capable of meeting the new need. I must fashion new words born of the new growth of my life, my mind, and my spirit. I must prepare new melodies that have never been mine before, that all that is within me may lift my voice unto God." Would you join me in saying the words to Extinguishing the Flame? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
There is no roadmap for these times, but if you want to ease your mind, you gotta look inside. You gotta look inside. There is no roadmap for these days, but if you want to find some grace, you gotta look inside. You gotta look inside. You gotta look inside. You gotta look inside. I know your heart is crying, please, but if you want to find some peace, you gotta look inside. You gotta look inside. You gotta look inside. You gotta look inside. You look into the stars above, but you got all you need, and that is love. Look inside. You gotta look inside. You gotta look inside. You gotta look inside. Come on and look inside. You gotta look inside. Come on and look inside.